Nope, it's time to call it. I'm not finding it. Sorry guys, but that's gonna be a run. Wah wah. However, we can check the spoilers and find out where it was at. Let's see, we're gonna search for item. Oh no. You'll never guess where the hookshot was. You'll never fucking guess. You will never guess where Hookshot was in Swamp Palace. Hookshot was where Hookshot's supposed to be. Boots were in there too. And a sword. And the bug net. That's going on the damn disaster board. Alright. I am very mad now. Okay. We have precisely $100. So I will come over here and refresh my Tiltify page. We'll see if we have any donations before we get to the Okay, we got $10 for from Anonymous. Great marathon so far. Put this towards dressing Mario up in a poncho and sombrero. So, at this point, I believe all donation incentives for Mario Odyssey have been met. Blue, what FFZ emotes are you wanting, my guy? Has the scooter been met? And I think the scooter might be the only thing that's not met yet. Spend a ton sing along, that's done. Mario Odyssey scooter chase. Nope. Dude, it's really easy. All you do is just drive straight. It's like actually the simplest thing. Totally prepared for this marathon. Alright, Blitzreiter, it is your turn. So if you could please make your way to the Discord.
Oh, hello. All right. Are we there yet? Okay. I'll just... I was gonna do it on my side. I would like you to do the timer.
Got it. Easy peasy can do. Alright.
So I'll just stream everything, audio and game. So I'll just stream everything, audio and game.
Okay, I've had to swap to my other headset, so whenever you're ready.
All right. Um, yeah, I think I'm ready. Do you want me to do commentary or?
Uh, I can do commentary if you don't want to do commentary, and I can kind of
You're,
pose questions and stuff like that as well.
yeah, you're probably
Or
better at it.
if you just want to be silent the whole time, I can do it too. Your call.
No, I'll be here if questions arise, but it would be nice if you could take over the main part of the commentary.
Sounds good to me. Just count me down whenever you're ready.
Does it work with the stream delay?
I'll hear it through the other headphones with the stream delay, and I'll get it from there.
Oh, okay. So countdown should be starting now. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, welcome everyone to Tooth and Tail, starring Blitzreiter. This is a game that is very near and dear to my heart, as well as a lot of us in the Pocket Watch Games community. I found out about this a little over a year ago, and started organizing tournaments for it and streaming. And it's only recently come out on Steam. It had a very long alpha period. Now, this is a real-time strategy game, playable completely with a controller. I am a fan of using the controller for it just because you get the improved movement. And the way it's so controller viable is all of your unit movement is centered around your commander. Your commander fights from the front lines. He waves a flag right where he wants the army to shoot. So this guy here, you're currently playing as for the tutorial level, is Bellified, or Bellified, depending on your preferred pronunciation. He is the leader of the Longcoats, which are kind of your blue blood, wealthy type sorts. And his son was eated, so he's unhappy with the status quo and wants to bring it down because his son got eated. You don't just eat a man's son like that. You see some of the mechanics being demonstrated thus far as kind of rallying and focusing. You do this by standing on top of unit and holding right click or right trigger. And the grist mills are your primary production facility. This is where your food comes from. This is where you get your main resource. Aside from that, there are also warrens. Those are like your barracks. They automatically spawn a certain number of units. Tier 1, the small ones spawn 3. Tier 2, the middle-sized ones spawn 2. And the giant Tier 3 ones only spawn 1 unit, but it's a powerful unit. So he's loaded up into the first official level of the game, if you don't count the tutorial. I'm trying to move my mouse without, chopping the cord to bits. Also, Blue, I see the emotes and I will implement them just as soon as I'm not doing commentary, but I'll be doing commentary for a little bit. So he's moving around the side here, taking a decent amount of damage from the Falcons, having to scout out the enemy base. Another interesting thing about this game, these maps are procedurally generated. They are not generated, they're not the same map every time. They're generated with certain rules, like this map will have this many grist mills and this close proximity to each other and maybe this particular kind of weather, but it's going to be a different map every time. So one of the potential speedrun strategies you see in this game is if you have a seed that you know is going to be bad, you reset, because it doesn't take very long at all. Certain levels are harder than others. There are many of us who look with disdain upon a level called the Howling Vale, which we'll get to later. I wouldn't say that's my least favorite, though. Blitzreiter, what's your least favorite map in this entire game from a speedrunning perspective?
From a speedrunning perspective, it definitely is Sage Maru Speaks. The Archimedes level where there's like... The whole map is comprised of like 24 areas that are randomly generated every time, and it's just a huge RNG fest. It's anything but consistent.
That's the one where you have to find all the snakes and toads and such?
I think that's the one where you have to free badgers and just destroy everything is basically the mission objective.
Okay, okay, yeah. No, my least favorite is the one where you're in the desert and your food is spoiling and you have to recruit all the different mercenaries. That is also a extreme RNG fest.
Yeah, there are quite a few missions that are heavily RNG dependent in this run,
Well, that's
but
just kind of how this game works.
yeah, but for speedrunning, most of them are actually fairly consistent, thankfully.
Now, are you playing this on an old patch or are you playing this current patch?
I'm playing on the current patch, which just came out, I think yesterday or something, very
Yeah, I
recent.
know. Yeah, they made some improvements, so
I hope so. I haven't tried it speedrunning on the newest patch yet, so we might get to see some things that weren't there before. Who knows? Oh, also
well
a
they improved consistency in some of the single player levels. Anyways, this level is teaching you how to build static defenses. Now, there's three types of static defenses in this game.
and we
Well,
have a
three
very
types of
interesting
static
spawn.
defenses that shoot. We do have a super interesting spawn. Oh wow, it's yeah,
I
okay.
don't even know how to deal with this at the moment, but the mission should be easy enough to never be able to fail. I hope.
At least this ain't all heroics. But yes, the your static defenses, you have bullet hives, which are these small machine gun nests. Then you have sniper balloons, which are pretty much the greatest unit in any game ever. It's a hot air balloon that's stationary with a sniper inside of it. And then there's the drumfire cannon, which is a large artillery piece. You can also build barbed wire and landmines. There's five of each type of unit: Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and structure. And the same holds true for the multiplayer.
Yeah, so currently we're in a mission that it looks like there is a wrong mission objective text because the mission objective reads help, but usually it should be survive. So I don't know what's up with that. Seems to be a bug of the most recent
Help.
patch. So apparently we're helping some things somehow.
But we're going to need some help before we're done with this run.
But yeah, what I want to say is this is a survival mission with a fixed timer. There's a couple of these, I think about 3, doing in the speedrun, and unfortunately there's nothing I can do to speed it up
You
because
can't survive any faster.
no. I mean, the fastest way would be to kill the enemy gristmills, but we can't quite walk around the map with turrets. The technology isn't there yet. So yeah, a couple of these survival missions do actually have enemy gristmills that we can kill, and some of them don't. And I think later in Belophyte's missions we actually have an example of a mission where we can speed up the survival mission by killing enemy gristmills early.
So if you're attempting to follow along with the plot, basically the world is in turmoil. There's no, like, the ability to eat grain is pretty much gone. There's a massive starvation, so wars are kind of happening just because they're having to eat each other. Before, there was a somewhat more civilized, if a bit morbid system where it was like a draft, it was a lottery. Your number gets picked, you get eaten. That's essentially how it goes. But now, certain individuals like Bellified here are unhappy with that and are trying to change things. Was the system rigged? Undoubtedly, but still. There's also mercenaries. This is Uncle Butters, who is one of my more favorite tier 3s in the game. He sets things on fire. And as of a recent patch, he also explodes when he dies.
And mercenaries are great for speedrunning because you just get the unit instantly without having to build a warren and wait for it. So we're going to try and get as many of these mercenaries as possible during the speedrun in order to finish the missions quickly. And especially Uncle Butter does great damage against grist mills.
He does great damage against almost anything, just not flying units. He does no damage against those.
Yeah, that's true. So he's a bit struggling against single targets, unfortunately. But he also has a ton of health, as you can see, so even though he took a lot of turret shots here, he's still alive somehow. Oops.
Yeah, he looks pretty rough right now from what I can see.
I may have lost Uncle Butter. Just maybe.
Perchance. Yeah, he's gonesies. But it's okay, because the mission's done.
Yeah, that was a close one. Okay, I think the next one is actually a good example of the survival missions that we can speed up. Because we get everyone's favorite rushing unit. It molds.
Well, for some people, their favorite rushing unit is no much rushing units. So moles are pretty notorious in the multiplayer meta of Tooth and Tail, just because pretty much always they've been a top tier unit due to their ability to be summoned anywhere. You can just kind of sneak behind someone's base, throw down 5 or 6 moles in the early game, or even just 3 is a good enough number to kill somebody. 4 definitely. But even with just 1, you can cause severe economic damage. They have a bonus attack to structures that has been taken away and given back multiple times over the last several patches. Like, I've been following this for a year. They've tried all they could to nerf the rushing capability of moles, but if you take away the rushing capability, they really don't do anything else. So in we go. They're also pretty good tanks. And so that's a heroic objective complete. Now there is a category where you get all the heroic objectives as well, but that is even more RNG dependent than the regular any percent is.
Yeah, so the next mission, I think this is the last one, is all about mercenaries. There's a bunch of mercenaries around the map that we can collect, including Hopper even. So we're just trying to find Uncle Butter, who is somewhere on this map, because he is the strongest unit, hero unit, that can help us end the match really quickly. And it's always random where he spawns, so we don't always find him, unfortunately, in time. So looks like we can't get him in time, so I'm gonna improvise by getting a few moles. The
Improvisation is always good.
Something just has to happen. Oops. Looks like we got some unlucky enemy spawns. Looks like the enemy units are... yeah. He built a warren right next to his base, so the toads spawning from there deal excellent single target damage, so they're very effective against moles. And I think our enemy in yellow here will also add on snakes later. This is a failed rush if I've ever seen one. Snakes are also pretty good against pretty much any unit, because they can stack poison on enemies, which is like an increasing dot, and it'll kill pretty much any unit or structure over time, given enough time. And you can only remove the poison, that's the annoying part. You can only remove the poison if you get back into your territory. So while your units are fighting on the front line, you can't remove the poison. I haven't seen any snakes yet, but here's the warren, so it'll probably happen soon. There's one. Now all of these campaign missions have special rules, or at least most of them. We can abuse a few of these rules. In this case, for example, we have reduced vision range, reduced visibility. So I tried to sneak around the snake so it wouldn't get vision of my army, but yeah, this is not.
Yeah, snakes are kind of irritating enemy to deal with in this particular mission.
Alright, looks like our ally is finally deciding to help us. But I may have also screwed up the rush pretty hard. No, she didn't decide to help us. God damn it.
Yeah, the AI, allied AI in this game is questionable at best. There is a mission later where you're playing as quartermaster and you have to protect Archimedes' units. And literally all you have is structures and pigeons, which are healers. And that can be one of the most frustrating missions in the game if Archimedes doesn't want to cooperate, because you really can't push forward until he pushes forward. You can build like 3 artillery cannons on the front lines, but you can't keep pushing.
So usually the mission would be over by now, but I took so long on the rush that it looks like the enemy actually rebuilt a grist mill. So it's not like in most regular RTS games where having any structure will keep you in the game. You will only stay in the game for as long as you have grist mills. And they have to be completed too, it doesn't count if they are building.
And another rule that goes along with that is starvation. You have to have at least one farm farming at all times. And once you stop having a farm that's farming, you start a 60-second timer. And if that 60 seconds elapses before you get another farm going, you just die because you starved to death. Right, water being a healing area is also a pretty common theme in a lot of these missions. That's not how it works in multiplayer, but it is useful for speedrun purposes, because you don't really have to go back and refuel that much.
Yeah, this is also an example of a mission where... Oh, I can't attack into this one. A mission where we don't have grist mills, but we're still in the game because, you know, it's kind of special. We're stay in the game in this case until we lose our army, but that's not... That's a single player exclusive.
So the goal of this mission, you had to free all of the prisoners. The chameleons are going to be a lot more useful to you than just the lizards are. Of course, you need a bit of a combination of them.
Yeah, there are roaming units. I think 2 falcons and a wolf are roaming the map at all times. And your lizards are your only anti-air, so in order to deal with falcons, you need a handful of lizards. The goal of this mission is to free 15 prisons. We do that by killing the unit that's in the middle inside. And the units can be random. I think they can be skunks, ferrets, squirrels, or turrets even. And turrets and skunks are probably the hardest one to deal with. We need chameleons for those, ideally. And because freeing them with lizards is not very cost effective. And we have to be at least a little cost effective even in a speedrun, just so we can survive. Because losing the entire mission will waste a lot more time than being a little slow with the units.
Now this prison break mechanic comes back a lot in later campaign missions. Sometimes they're just in completely unrelated missions. There will be prisons where you can get some extra mercenaries from simply by freeing them. And they're honestly one of your better sources of units because they don't cost any food to get. You just got to take out the unit that's in the middle.
Yeah, my favorite mission of the speedrun is always the Badger mission of Archimedes, where you have up to 4 Badger prisons around the map, and you can just free them all fairly easily, and you just get very powerful units for destroying those prisons. Anyway, I think upcoming we have your least favorite mission? No, wait, that was a different one, wasn't it?
Yeah, my least favorite mission is the one. It's the Archimedes mission.
Oh, okay, gotcha. This is actually a dangerous mission, so I'm gonna focus a bit. I'm gonna attempt another mole rush. Hopefully I'll do better this time. But the enemy has 4 gristmelts, so it takes a long time to kill them all.
Okay, yes, I remember this mission. This mission's not an easy speed mission either. Because if you try to start mole rushing it, you kind of have to go all in on it. So hopefully we'll see Blitzreiter successfully do that. Right now he's just scouting out the gristmills, making sure he knows where all 4 of them are before he starts his rush. The difficult thing is when you're outside your territory in this mission, you just lose health, and that puts the attacker at a clear disadvantage. So you've got to really be careful with how you use your moles when you mole rush this. So there's 3 that have gone down.
We can abuse the water heals rule here in order to keep our units safe from the sun damage, or whatever it's called. It's hot sand, I think.
Hot sand, yes. Yeah, the water healing is a super useful mechanic in this particular stage, but you can also get just shut down by it, because if there's no water near you, your strategy will definitely suffer. So that's 1 gristmill down. You kind of need to keep the shock and awe going, but you also are able to claim these gristmills and then use it to prevent your units from taking damage.
Yeah, we can also use territory healing for the most part, even though it's much slower than water healing.
Yeah, the main good aspect about having the territory is not taking the damage in the first place. Because if you're striking now while it's still early on, the gristmills don't really have too many defenses. The farmers, the pigs, are capable of shooting, but they're not going to do anywhere near as much damage as proper units are. And if you can get the stack going with a decent enough number of moles, you start to snowball. But the second you start losing moles, you hit the brakes pretty hard.
Yeah, even though I could probably finish here, I'm gonna play it safe and retreat my molds to heal up.
Yeah, that's the 3rd gristmill down. He's going to fall back, do exactly as he said. Get even more moles. Make sure they're nice and healthy before he goes to take out that last mill. Because this would be a hell of a mission to have to restart. And that should be it. Successful mission there.
Alright, so this next mission is another survival mission. We're on a 6-minute timer, and the enemy does not have a gristmill. They will randomly spawn warrens throughout the map, outside our territory, and try to kill us, but we can't end the mission early, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry about the audio, guys. I did just realize it was super low and turn it back up.
So we got a couple of empty gristmills here on the map that we can capture, which will help us survive for once. It will help us stay in the game, and it will also increase our territory, so the enemy has less area to spawn in, which makes the warren spawns more predictable.
Right, Lizard Warren going down. Got some attacking units on the way.
Yes, I worked out a build order for this a while ago, and it seems to be working pretty well so far. We go up to 7 farms before putting down 2 lizard warrens, so we can get some early 6 lizards. by a time of 1:30 is when they start spawning warrants, so we can walk around with a couple of lizards already out and take the warrants out before they even spawn units.
I like the plan. I'll tell you the mission I'm eager to see how you tackle is one coming up where you fight Quartermaster and there's constant wind blowing.
That would be the last hopper mission, I think.
Yeah, it's also definitely the hardest in my opinion of the hopper missions.
Well, I think I have a surprising way for you to beat that mission.
I'm excited to see it.
Anyway, because we're allied with Bellefight here, we can build in his territory, so I'm gonna put down a Fox Warren. It should come out by the time we encounter any bigger units like tier 2 and tier 3. And after that we're just gonna mass lizards still, because lizards are still the most cost effective, I think. They're also swift units, so they can move around the map fast together with Fox.
Alright, there's one Archimedes unit and one Hopper unit, both of which, or one Quartermaster unit. I'm still tired. That need to be taken out. But at this point, the food is kind of starting to snowball a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I need to get any more farms than what am I at? I think I'm at 10 right now. Actually, I just lost one farm, so it should still be enough. However, just need to make sure we protect our warrants and our farms if possible. So it looks like there are somewhere falcons that keep sneaking into my base. I don't know where they're coming from. Oh, they had a corner warren. Okay, that's sneaky.
Yep. Falcons are the worst in these survival missions simply because they ignore walls, so you don't exactly have the best picture of where they're coming from.
Meanwhile, snakes keep being annoying. I'm surprised the enemy hasn't spawned any tier 3 warrants yet. Usually they try and put down a big unit. Oh, there we go, there's one. Sorry if my commentary is a bit ahead.
That's fine, it happens. This is what you deal with when you're playing with transatlantic streams. So the character we're playing as right now is Hopper, the leader of the common folk. She has a interesting little accent, and she's also missing one arm. Now, which arm that is depends on the direction facing, because she's technically a fighting game character. That's just kind of how those go. Are you left-handed or right-handed? Well, am I facing left or right?
So meanwhile, Bellefight has also built up an army and is walking around the map helping us, which is helpful.
One of the few times allied AI will be of any help in this entire game.
Yeah, it's very random what the ally will do, and sometimes it can really screw you over, because as you mentioned earlier, that Quartermaster mission where you have to support Archimedes.
That can take 20 minutes if Archimedes isn't cooperating.
Pretty much.
And he'll build the dumbest units. He'll build like straight up pure toad, and then they'll all explode on nothing. Or he'll have like 2 snakes.
I don't think he has toads in that mission. I think he's mostly building squirrels or snakes, but I haven't actually paid attention.
Well, we'll have to look. Either way, I know he's not of any use to anyone. You're sitting there with 3 drum fires holding the front lines, and he's just like, do 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 do.
Yeah, the worst thing is when he decides to go expanding at 5 minutes. Even though the enemy gridsman only has 10 HP left, he just leaves it because he needs to expand or something.
Clearly, an expansion is what we needed.
Alright, so that was the timed survival mission. Upcoming next is another interesting mission where we don't have a base, but at least we got some warrants. However, we have no food to build units. So what I'm going to do at the start is I'm going to sell off a fox warrant for a bunch of food. And then we're going to try and locate a couple of prisons where we can free troops, and also the 2 enemy gristmills that we need to destroy in order to win the mission. Looks like we're in somewhat of an annoying position here.
Yeah, I would definitely say you got like a trash spawn.
I'm kind of on a mountain here. I don't see a way to get down. Okay, thankfully there's a way down here. That makes things a lot easier. So usually I try to go for a prison first, but because I didn't scout one, I'm just gonna go for the gristmill first instead. Honestly, we might just try to skip the prison and go straight for the second gristmill, because we have enough units still. The chameleons are very, very good, very tanky, and they output a lot of damage. So yeah, that was not as bad of a spawn as I first thought. Upcoming next is another pretty hard mission. Sometimes the RNG is bad, and as a runner I just have to recognize when it's too bad to win, and restart the mission. It's basically a survival mission, but we have to protect, I think, about 10 of Belophyte's forces, who are also only meat income, because they are merchant. They will randomly spawn, or not randomly, they will spawn meat pickups like every minute or so, and that's all the food we can use to build units comes from these merchants.
Now, what's your tactic for this mission? Because I think mine is a little weird, but it works.
I haven't worked out a perfect tactic yet. It's definitely important to use chameleons in the early game to take down warrants. And usually I just try to rush 2 owls and a fox if possible. Because it looks like most of the merchants are close together, so it's very easy to run around between them and collect meat. And the merchants will also keep our warrants safe.
Yeah, the way I typically handle this mission, if I get a decent merchant spawn, which is honestly usually I'll get all the merchants in a line, is I'll just make a enormous like 20 to 30 bullet hive line.
Yeah, mass bullet hive might be the way to go here, honestly, because you can get, if you put down the bullet hives early enough, you can get map control. And
I mean, by the time they have enough units to punch through bullet hives, you have like 40 bullet hives.
yeah, in the late game, bullet hives are also important because you can just put them down all around the map, and then the warrants that spawn won't even get a chance to get up and produce units because they'll be taken down immediately by your bullet hives.
That and the other bonus is they're good against falcons, which can be a bit of a pain in this map.
Yeah. Honestly, I try to get a fox in order to counter falcons if possible.
Yep, despite the nerfs and the weird half buffs, fox is still great.
Yeah, and I think the nerfs don't apply to the single player campaign as far as I know. So, either way, fox still one-shots falcons, which makes her an excellent defense. Alright, so it looks like they actually have a really good map, because all the merchants are kind of holed up in a corner here. So I can just defend. I put turrets at the back of my base to defend the back, and then we can just put our units at the front. We pretty much can't be touched, because 2 owls produce enough mice to just overrun any ground force. Might be a little bit close in the late game. So I'm gonna still try and move out and snipe a few warrants.
Yeah, what I usually do is once I have my defensive line set up, I'll head out with my chameleons and go take out a couple warrants and then pop back in.
Most annoying enemies in general are toads in this case, because they don't cost anything for the enemy, so the fact that they are cost ineffective doesn't matter. Usually the AI has enough food, and they deal great damage still because they're not nerfed in single player. Okay, that's interesting. I don't have air vision here, so this might prove difficult to snipe down the Falcons. They were actually hiding on top of the mountain. But we have enough units now, so even though I can't get map control anymore, it's too late for that. I'm gonna try and just put down a defensive turret line. We're just gonna bunker up here and hopefully survive the last 2 minutes.
Now, just a brief unit rundown for what we're using right now, those of you who aren't familiar with the game. Chameleons turn invisible and do heavy melee damage, so if you play StarCraft, they're Dark Templars. A Fox is a long-range, quick-moving sniper unit that one-shots all tier 1s except moles, and also takes out Falcons in one shot, which is pretty important. The Owls constantly spawn these little mice that kind of run around and attack on the ground doing melee damage and soak up bullets. These are more like your carry or was it the Broodlords in StarCraft? I don't know my Zerg air units because if it's not a Mutalisk, I don't care. I need a pissed off flying letter C, and I need about 70,000 of them all on one by one square.
So mice have the Berserker trait, I think, which makes them run at double speed, kind of like Swift units, but it also makes them uncontrollable, and they have a huge aggro range. I think they have like range of 6 or so, at which they start attacking units, and once the mice are attacking, you can't really call them back, which can be a little bit of a problem here. But it looks like we'll be able to hold this attack. And yeah, some have compared the Owl to Broodlords in StarCraft. I also like to make StarCraft references, it's very easy, and most people
Yeah,
know the
they're
game.
more like Broodlords than they are like carriers, because carriers spawn area units and Broodlords spawn like groundish units.
I guess. I mean, they're not like either unit. They are kind of unique,
owls.
but yeah.
Either way, it's interesting to see how far the tier 3s have come from what they started out as. The Wolf in particular has undergone so many reworks and changes over the history of this game.
I haven't actually been in the game community for too long, so didn't quite witness
I
all
can
the
explain
changes.
then. So the actually, let me watch you do this mission first, because this is a mission that gives me a large amount of trouble in my runs.
Okay, to be
So I'll
fair,
give
we
you
have a
the
little bit
tactic.
of a bad spawn here, but usually in this case the most simple solution is also the best. We just rally all of the units, walk across the map and kill them, because they only have one grist mill, and it works most of the time.
Why did I never think to do that? I'm trying to like push forward and clear out barbed wire with my chameleons. Nah, let's just charge.
Yeah, we'll see if we have enough health remaining on these chameleons. They're a bit low from all the barbed wire, but that's just how you beat the mission in speedrunning.
Yeah, alright, that's one turret down, that's one farm down, and holding down the focus attack onto the gristmill. Lots of damage, and GG. Heroic as well. So anyways, the Wolf still does the same thing he used to do, he just does it in an entirely different way, because now he buffs approximately, what, 6 units now? And or the farming and the building of Warrens. What he used to do was just a blanket buff to any unit in range, which was, I think at the time, only attacking units. But it was a decently small, it was like a 1.25 or 1.5 attack speed and move speed buff. But even that was super huge. So pairing him with other tier 3s or just a massive ball of squirrels. It was ridiculous.
So you had kind of an area buff with technically unlimited number of units?
Yes, it was. I dare say, like, he's strong now because his effect has been greatly enhanced and it can do more things. But he was just terrifying back in the day because if you had, say, 25 squirrels and a wolf, you couldn't really be stopped unless your opponent also had 25 squirrels and a wolf. Because that much raw, concentrated firepower just deletes even tier 3s very quickly. So now, the gimmick for this level and a lot of these snow levels coming up is when you're outside your territory, you start freezing to death. And it's easy to miss-micro your units if you're not careful and lose them to frostbite. So one of the main tactics here is you want to get as many of these little campfires going as possible so your units can stay warm, and also so you have more income to get more units. The heroic requirement for this level is to never build a warren, meaning you win with only mercenaries, which is very much possible. You get mercenaries with every campfire. However, it's easy to become too tunnel visioned on trying to get the heroic and forget that you can actually build units that shoot. And since this is not a all heroics speed run, you still should look at occasionally building some firing units. You don't get penalized for building barbed wire though, and barbed wire is another trick to this level. You want to rope off the areas where the enemy warrens are coming from. That way you have time to respond and move through the cold.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to add about earlier units is that Owl Bomb has been removed in multiplayer, but it's still there in the campaign. So just a quick throwback to the last mission. Even if everything fails and your owl dies, it'll still spawn, I think, 6 mice. They might be able to do enough damage to focus on the gristmill, because if you rally the owl on the gristmill, the mice will spawn right next to it and attack it, usually.
Yeah, I had forgotten that they took that away. Because for the longest time, the owl was pretty much the same unit it had always been, with 6 mice cap and then the party pinata, as I like to call it. But no, they've removed that now for multiplayer, and instead the owls can now support more mics a little faster. So they're a little more useful in the long term. You don't have to keep waiting for them to respawn and get a sizable force quickly.
Yeah. And this mission ends when you collect 2,000 food, so it's actually even more important for speedrunning to get as many campfires as early as possible. Fortunately, we got a good map.
Yeah, you get a pretty exponential boost. Yeah, this is a very good map that's very wide open. It's possible to get a terrible map that's very closed off and choked up with trees. And then you have to be concerned about all your campfires when you can't move between them without freezing.
Yeah, so you should definitely at some point start building something to protect your campfires. You can build warrens if you're not going for the heroic. I like to use barbed wire because it's cheap and it does a lot of damage. And when I rally my units across the map, the barbed wire doesn't move, it stays there and protects. Okay, so next mission is Howling Val, a mission a lot of new players struggle with.
I'm gonna be completely real, I'm not bragging or anything. Like, if you get a good spawn on this map can be incredibly easy. If you don't get a very good spawn, this map becomes incredibly hard. You're very close.
Yeah, this is a very close spawn. I don't think that's good in this case.
This is a crazy map. Look at this back area that nobody's ever gonna use.
So the problem is not that we spawn close, but that he has turrets spawned in front. I think they reduced the number of turrets that spawn on this mission, but it's still enough to pretty much contain me, so the enemy is on 2 bases, I'm on 1, and he's pretty much contained me already. So we're kind of fighting from behind here, basically.
Yep, so the gimmick behind this level is this is the first level where you're allowed to build the wolf, Sergeant Volkov, which is literally Sergeant Wolf's in Russian.
Is it?
Yeah, Volkov is like of the wolves.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know. They also had direct Russian influences. I mean, obviously the language of the game sounds a little Russian,
Yeah,
but
yeah, Vyeshel, the constructed language that all these critters speak, which I'm a huge fan of that, by the way. Is the constructed language. But yeah, I don't even know if they realized it meant that. But yeah, Sergeant Volkov is Sergeant Wolves. Also, this is like less important, but Kasha, the name of the fox, means like hot cereal in Russian, like oatmeal or porridge or buckwheat.
I guess it makes sense that she's the hero of the common folk then, or one of the heroes, I should say. Anyway, I might restart this mission because honestly, I'm losing too many units here, and he's got a huge squirrel ball. I don't know where he got that from, but I pretty much have to fight into his turrets. Yeah, I'm just gonna restart. I don't think this is going to end well.
That's the key of speedrunning this game, is recognizing when you've just been kind of handed a crap seed. Fortunately, I have a terrible seed FFZ emote, so
But yeah, I should probably have recognized this sooner and just restarted immediately when I saw the turrets.
So the quote-unquote like walkthrough method of beating this particular mission, the hint, if you will, is using Sergeant Volkov to make your farm faster and make your units build faster. The main thing I use him for is just over buffing a decently sized ball of falcons.
Yeah, Falcons late game become incredibly cost effective because they can output a lot of damage, not more than lizards, but they can stack better than lizards on a low number of tiles, so they'll have more DPS in the late game still.
Yeah, and the other thing about them is they can cross terrain that lizards cannot.
Yeah, they're also unaffected by water now that I think about it. We have a huge lake here between us.
Yeah, Falcons are one of the few units in this game you can split push with. Because of the way the controls and the mechanics work, you're basically forced to micro one type of unit at a time, and you can only direct them to come to where you are. So the way of doing that is you can hide Falcons pretty much anywhere you want in a corner and make them rally up there. And then whenever you want to utilize them, pull them from where they are to wherever you want them to go. The hard part is you can't do that while you're microing your entire army.
And so I like to take it a bit slower on this map because I've tried rushing and it's just not consistent enough for the speedrun. So we're actually gonna build a wolf and do what the mission hint says. We're gonna speed up our economy and build a ton of units and just eventually overrun the enemy before we starve.
More fun facts. Farms last exactly 5 minutes from the moment they're built, so the ones you spawn into the map with last until the 5-minute mark precisely, at which point they all explode. So a crucial tenet of both the single-player and multiplayer versions of this game is knowing when your farm's going to expire and making sure you lessen that blow as much as possible, or exploit it as a timing attack if you're watching when your enemy's building theirs. Now at this point the chain guns are getting spun up on these Falcons. He only lost one in that entire engagement, thanks to the wolf, and now they're getting some meat to go with them, with the lizards. I've never eaten a lizard, but I can imagine it would probably taste weird. I've
Looks
eaten
like-
an alligator.
Oh, what did that taste like?
Imagine like a meat that's like 75% chicken and 25% fish. It's pretty good, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Anyway, we have 2 wolves now, which means we can have them buff each other, which is a mechanic that's exclusive to single player as of now. So
I also love the animation of him yelling in the megaphone because he's supposed to be a drill sergeant, but what it looks like is he's just getting super hype at a hockey game. Or, you know, your choice of insert sport here. He's watching Real Madrid versus Barcelona, perhaps. El Clásico.
So I may have just thrown away my entire army, which is why many players probably struggle with this mission. Because as you've noticed, I have gotten all of the farms on my main grist mill, so I'm gonna starve soon in like a minute or so. And if I don't win the game by then, I pretty much lose.
So it's about time for the all-in. So as
Yeah.
you can see, he's dropped down all the falcons and all the lizards.
And hopefully we can win this with the power of wolf buffs.
Well,
This-
you got a sizable army now, and you took out a lot of his stuff. I think you should be fine.
I hope so. I'm not sure, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, you just chew through that army like it was nothing.
Did you update your stream, by the way? Because someone in chat seems to be wondering about that. About the game selected on
I
Twitch.
have not up. I think at this point that's just the quality meme of the thing. Is every single time I try to get a new game going, I always forget to update the stream game.
It's not a mistake, it's a meme.
It's a meme steak.
That sounds delicious
Yes.
for some reason.
Yeah, the most delicious kind of steak. It's dank outright.
Yeah, this is the, as I like to call it, support mission, where you get a deck full of units that cannot attack. You get support units like pigeons and wolf, and then a bunch of defensive structures, so you can never walk across the map and kill the enemy. You may get lucky and get a campfire close to the enemy base, so you can cannon rush them, but for the most part you're reliant on your ally Archimedes here to take out the enemy, and it can take from
Unfortunately,
yeah, it can
He's
take
a
from
dumb
4 to
shit.
8 minutes.
Archimedes is like rank 1.
It sounds a little bit insulting to the rank 1 people, honestly. Because he's just that random in what he does. Also, this
I would
map
s-
isn't great.
I would say Archimedes is like playing against a drunk Chip, but Chip is way too young to drink. Shoutouts to Chip from Space, the ultimate champion. He used to not be the ultimate champion. He used to be Chip from second place. That was the running joke because he would get second in every tournament. But then now he's like practically unopposed. Like Arbuz and some other guys can kind of take it to him, but he still wins pretty much every tournament he enters now. One of my good friends who plays this game. We used to play a lot of PUBG together, but then everybody decided that game was bad.
So I'm just put down 2 wolves at my enemy's base and hope to boost his economy to a point that he can just spam units and overrun the enemy. Looks like that is about to happen. Because Archimedes actually, he did good for once. He found a secret entrance to the enemy base here, so I can just
Good job,
support his units.
Archimedes. You want a Scooby snack?
Yeah. Fortunately, thanks to the wolf buff and pigeon mass that you can spam, you can at least keep Archimedes' army alive forever, pretty much. You can outsustain pretty much any DPS.
The challenge with that, though, is when he decides, I don't have enough units, let me go back.
Yeah.
And back. And back.
Because of the way this game is designed around having a commander that does stuff, you can only do things where your commander is. It's like your mouse cursor. I think there's a pun somewhere in there. So when Archimedes decides to go back to base...
I never thought about that. Mouse, because they're rats.
Yeah.
It's great. I like it. Publish it. Unfortunately, this dude seems to have hella Grismos.
I have a hard time telling what's going on, honestly. There's so many colors on the battlefield.
Well, Hopper's KO'd, and that gave you a little peek of where Bellified's last base is. Now the question is Archimedes intelligent enough to know? And the answer is,
I think he's actually moving there right now. Doesn't have much of an army left, but... Nope, he changed his way. So when Archimedes burrows back to his base, he can't control his units at the front anymore. If anything, he will call them back. And at that point, your attack pretty much stops.
which is unfortunate.
Looks
However, at this point, there's lots of pigeons on top of lots of army, so he might be confident enough to go in. Come on, I believe. I believe. Shoot uphill. You got flying vision.
he might also decide that this is the perfect time for an expansion.
Clearly about to win. Let me just expand. It reminds me of Volts. He's a StarCraft 2 player. He was in my last Strawberry Series tournament. He played like it was StarCraft. And when he was playing against somebody who wasn't used to the meta and the timings of the game, he would just destroy them because he would have like 6 times their economy. Because he was expanding like a Zerg. He was taking like 3 grist mills at once.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot from people coming from StarCraft 2 to this game, or StarCraft in general. They just expand so fast. And usually it's not something you can do in this game, at least in multiplayer.
So on the sort of world map here, there's several in-jokes. And Quartermaster's area probably has the best out of all of them.
Yeah, they really start breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, we've got pigeons discussing their heal rate. We got a skunk with no mask on, huffing his own farts. Like, it's just some strange things going on.
Right, so this is another survival mission. We've got another 6-minute timer coming up. And you start with 3 gristmills, but no farms. However, we have a bunch of defenses placed randomly around the map. And we can sell them to get some early food. And we're gonna invest in just enough food to get 5 or 6 farms. And that should be enough economy for the rest of the game. And from this point on, we can just start making units, run around the map and kill enemy warrants. Because the best defense is a good offense, so we're just gonna try and kill the enemies before they even spawn. That's the idea.
The best defense is a strong offense, especially when the place you're defending is literally the entire map.
Yep. There are allied prisons on this map as well. I think we have 2 badger prisons guarded by an artillery cannon. If the enemy manages to kill that somehow, they will gain a free badger.
You don't want them doing that, by the way.
Nope.
That's not fun.
It's possible to win without protecting the badger prisons, but it's not advised, I think.
No, but the other thing is your economy tends to snowball out of control in this particular mission. So it's really easy just to have like 6 foxes.
Yeah, speaking of foxes, I think I'm actually going to add on foxes instead of farms here, because 6 farms is usually enough of an economy. At one point you just have enough units, and it comes down to running around the map in time and killing all the warrants. Oh yeah, we also have barbed wire, which we can place, unfortunately not anywhere on the map, but we can place it in our territory, which helps. So you can use that to defend your gristmills, some key locations.
So other interesting things about barbed wire in this game, barbed wire can only be taken out once it's been fully built by melee units. So if you don't have lizards, chameleons, moles, or owls to generate mice, or I think toads can explode on them, you have no way of clearing barbed wire.
I think toads can't attack the barbed wire, but their AoE explosion damages the wire. Also, one thing we completely forgot in Howling Well to explain is that Quartermaster actually introduces a new mechanic to the game, which is building units without warrants. You just put down the unit on the ground and it immediately builds like a mole. I think that's a trait called Summon. And
They call it summoning or tunneling, depends. I think the in-game excuse is tunnels. By the way, Quartermaster's final mission is kind of hilarious.
I don't know, I don't like that mission to be honest.
Yeah, it's not a good mission, it's just funny. Just like my run earlier this morning. It's not good, it's just hilarious.
Well, if it's hilarious, isn't it good?
Not when you probably have an improvement of at least 30 minutes you can make.
Yeah, the reason why I set this estimate for this run so high is also because, well, all the maps are procedurally randomly generated, so we can win or lose 30 minutes depending on what kind of maps we get and also how hard I choke. Or maybe not win or lose 30 minutes, but we could be done 30 minutes quicker than the estimate if we get perfect RNG, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're past that point because we lost quite a bit of time on Howling Well. So yeah, upcoming next is actually the second last Quartermaster mission. I don't think we can fail this one, so I'm kind of safe. And it's one of my favorite missions because the key to speedrunning that is just to rush a bunch of scrolls, and it's the most hilarious thing ever. At least I always have a lot of fun playing it. Because it's so simple yet effective. So yeah, I built 2 foxes in this mission to one-shot any tier 2 that comes out, like ferrets or snakes. And 2 foxes also almost kill a badger, I believe. So if the enemy does manage to get a badger out somehow, we can pretty much take him down immediately with a double fox. And other than that, we don't really need a lot for the firepower.
Yeah, you get a little overpowered in this level, honestly. We are finally ticking down on the clock.
Yeah, the map is also important in this level because sometimes you just get a map that's easy to go around and kill warrens, and the warrens can't spawn anywhere sneaky. So you can just walk around the map, keep killing warrens very easily, so the map kind of beats itself. Anyway, next mission is a free-for-all, I believe, but for some reason the enemy still focuses you, because you're the main character or something.
Of course they do. Why wouldn't they?
So I'm gonna try to go up to 8 farms, and while counting campfires as farms. So once we have an 8 farm economy, I'm gonna start building units and just pushing. So every enemy has 2 grist mills, I don't think they have more farms than us. I think they have the same amount of farms. But we need to kill a total of 6 crystals in order to win this mission. So I'm going to try and get some early scrolls out. They're not better DPS than Falcons. They're also not worse. In the early game I just like them more because they build faster. I'm just trying to capture some campfires while we're on the map. We're gonna try to kill Hopper first, because if we let Hopper live for too long, she will have a lizard army, which is very good against Squirrel Falcon. What do we have? So I'm gonna try and get rid of her first, and eliminate her from the game. Looks like something's attacking our base. It's very strange. Not sure what's going on there.
So what's the tactic for getting the heroic on this mission then?
Oh, that's an entirely different story. It's, I usually just turtle up in a corner, try not to die and not to kill any units, and hope that the enemy just kind of kill each other in the in time. I think not too long ago, one speedrunner actually found a consistent way to beat this mission, which involves kind of farming, killing everyone but Archimedes, and then just have Archimedes run around the map. No, that's the other method. It involves Archimedes making toads and running them into your army, and you just out-heal the toad damage, because every toad explosion counts as a kill for some reason, for the heroic.
Interesting.
And there's also a strategy that revolves around just running around the map, capturing campfires, just so you don't die, and never building an army and just letting the enemies kill each other. Because I think this is one of the heroics that completes before you end the mission, so you don't have to get the heroic and then win the mission in order to unlock the achievement. Oh, that's actually way up here, I didn't realize. Anyway, we're gonna try to kill Archimedes next, because he can build a very scary late game army with snakes, and I believe his tier 3 is an owl. Meanwhile, Belophyte is pretty tame in terms of army composition. I think he has like moles, squirrels, and that's about it. Oh yeah, ferrets also, but ferrets aren't great against the squirrel ball that we have right now. The reason why we cannot rush Archimedes is because he has balloons, which are very high damage. Oh yeah, you explained that earlier. So the sniper balloons, that they pretty much pick off one unit with each shot. I think they're also almost one-shot falcons. So it's not advised to rush Archimedes, because balloons are so effective in the early game.
Another principle common to this game of Micro is tanking with your commander. Your commander grows slowly more tanky as the game progresses. Every minute they gain some additional health. And using your commander to just stand in front of things like turrets and soak up the damage allows your units to get far more shots off. Alright, now for the last quartermaster mission and the silliest, weaponized sugar.
It took me a while to realize how this works, but yeah, apparently Quartermaster consumes the sugar somehow, which makes her run faster, and then the wing demons, the falcons, will use artillery cannons that they stole from the freight union, which are the ferret units, to drop down bombs, kind of like an airstrike. So you'll see the ability in a bit, probably, because I'm going to use it to defend my campfires. Pretty much allows you to run around the map and call down an airstrike in the process.
What's the actual heroic for this mission? Because it looks like we got some bugged heroic text.
It is kill 40 enemies with
the sugar.
With the sugar, yeah.
Yeah, it just says kill 40 enemies, like flat out.
I don't know what happened to the objective text. Seem to have some
You should
bugs
probably
going on.
let Pocket Watch know, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not trying to defend too many campfires, I'm just trying to capture them to gain the mercenary units that are close to them. And once we have enough food, once we got all of the campfires on the map, we'll just pick one campfire to turtle on and pretty much remain there for the rest of the mission. I haven't found a way to speed up this mission objective yet, because it seems to be random at which rate enemies spawn. So I don't know how to make them spawn enemies faster so I can kill them more. So we're just gonna pick a corner campfire, set up our defenses there, and hope for the best. At least that's the plan, but it looks like my campfire is gonna be taken out before I can get it. That sucks. Alright, we'll just pick a different campfire then. Usually you want to pick a high ground campfire to defend.
That one looks pretty high ground.
Oh dear. Unfortunately, the enemy always seems to be here first, so I can't quite set my defenses up. After all, the drumfire cannons take 40 seconds to build, still, even with the... Well, actually they haven't been changed. Never mind. So we're gonna get 2 drumfire cannons to defend this area, maybe add on a little bit of wire later. Especially against chameleons. Chameleons are very dangerous against drumfires. But if you just put a little bit of barbed wire in front, the chameleon AI will target the wire first. So they will reveal themselves before they reach the drumfires, and the drumfires can take them down. And we can use our sugar ability to run around the map and get some kills.
Yeah, one of the frustrating things about this particular mission is just how long it takes for enemies to spawn for you to be able to kill them. They're not there when you want them to be, and they're there exactly when you don't want them to be. Nice airstrike snipe out on the Badger.
Yeah, one of the most dangerous tier 3 is, I think, still the Fox, because you can one-shot your Falcons. I usually just have a Falcon ball for defense. And it also seems to be random what enemies are spawning. Sometimes you get an owl spawn, which is the best for getting both the main objective and the side objective, because the owl will pop into like 6 mice and it'll just grant you a kill for every single mice you kill. So that ups your skull really fast. But it looks like the enemy is very fond of badgers in this case. And I just thought of something. If it's the enemy commanders that put down the units to build them, then the fastest way to beat this mission is probably to never kill an enemy commander. So they will have all the time in the world to set up, to spawn, what's it called? To spawn enemies, so you can kill more enemies.
Likely true.
Yeah, I just treat this mission as a timed survival mission. That's what it feels like anyway.
That's essentially what it is. You're just surviving till you get all the kills.
Yeah.
I like how the timer starts ticking, but it's not a timer at all.
It's
the kill count.
One interesting I've noticed is that you can burrow while you're in the sugar ability, and it'll remove your movement speed for some reason, but it won't remove the artillery shells. It'll just be slow.
Neat glitches.
Oh, maybe it's intentional. Maybe she wasted all of her energy trying to burrow home. Who knows? It looks like we can get the last kills here, so I'm gonna move out on the map and hopefully snipe the last units to complete the mission.
And that's it for Quartermaster.
Yep.
On to Archimedes, who has some of the most difficult missions in the game, rightfully so, as he is the final commander we play as in the game.
Definitely the most annoying missions.
Alright, so this first mission you play as Archimedes for is essentially just suicide bombing the game. You have lots of toads, all of whom literally are pretty much like banelings. Their only method of attack is blowing themselves up. But man, do they do a good job of it.
Yeah,
And guess what? It's another timed survival.
True. Also, yeah, it's also gonna be your main attack force in this army. And this mission actually has a very special rule that we'll see in a couple of Archimedes missions, is that kills grant food. So when you kill a unit, you get food for the same amount that it costs to build the unit, which is really cool. So the toads blowing up pretty much pay for themselves if they kill a tier 1 unit, which is usually what they do because they have enough damage. So we're pretty much building nothing but toads for now, running around the map and killing all the units and warrants. Because if you take a look at our deck, we have pigeons that are support units, they heal. We have skunks that lay down an AoE damage over time, I think. But they can't attack buildings, and then we have mines, which are a stationary defense. So the only units that we have that can attack buildings are literally toads. And that's the only way to take out warrants. So we're gonna need a lot of them.
Here's a nice tier 3 warrant, and there it goes. Multiple warrants over here, and there they go.
I think the enemy tier 3 in this mission is Uncle Butter. Which should be scary against toads, I think, but usually the toads end up going through just right through his flamethrowers. If there's no scroll support, they can just go... They can survive the flames and get to him and blow up. Because unlike banelings, toads actually don't do damage when they die. They have to do the attack animation in order to explode. That's just a small difference. It makes this game feel somewhat unique, which I like. So usually you wouldn't be able to blow your way through the map with toads like this, but because of this special rule that kills grand food, we can just keep reproducing the toads pretty much. We lose a little bit of food when we kill a warren, but we have 9 campfires. Wait, we have 8. We have 8 campfires to reproduce food. There's a heroic for the last campfire here, but I don't even see it on the map. Oh, actually, never mind.
You passed it, it's bottom right.
Ah. So in this mission, it makes the mission easier if they get the heroic here. If you manage to get all of the campfires.
Yeah, on certain seeds, that's next to impossible because they're just spread out all over the place and you don't get a good start.
The start to this mission is also very important. If you don't get good toad connections in the early game, you will be behind in food. And the enemy might still have a few roaming chameleons, which will just annihilate your bases that aren't protected. But you have a quartermaster units here for support. I think there's some random skunks roaming the map that are allied to you. And there's even a cheesy strat that revolves around placing mines in the corners of the map, so that enemy warrens don't have enough room to spawn, basically, which makes it so that warrens can't spawn in the corners, for example. And it can be used to create some sort of choke points, or just to remove that one annoying corner where the enemy keeps spawning warren.
Unfortunately, with these sorts of levels, the only thing you can do is just keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting, and wait for the clock to tick.
Yeah. The enemy tier 3 warren actually appeared very early. Usually they don't build that fast. So I guess there's no real... It doesn't feel like there's a progression in difficulty here, like in the other survival missions. It's just random amounts of warrens all over the place. I'm trying to get a skunk here, but I think before I do, the mission will be over. Oh yeah, also you have a couple of campfires that are protected by turrets, and sometimes the turrets are in locations where they are not very useful, so you can sell them to get some early food boost. And you can use skunks and pigeons, kind of place them in certain at certain campfires to protect them, or maybe in the middle of the map to interrupt enemy movement. And you can control your toads separately, because your toads are your main strike force to take out warrens. And also units. But a skunk supported by a few pigeons can hold his ground against scrolls very easily.
Alright, so that's a heroic victory, and I think that's... Is that the last true survival mission of the game?
Not really. I think the second last mission is a survival mission as well. So this was the mission you talked earlier.
Yeah, this mission is actual hell, and it apparently used to be much worse in the alpha testing for it, which very few people were shown the alpha of the... What was it? The alpha of the campaign?
Yeah, this mission is also random.
Apparently before, like, in this mission there's snakes, but before that apparently they were lizards instead.
Oh
so
dear.
You had barely anything to fight with. This was probably one of the most complained about missions in the alpha version. But now, in this particular mission, your sole source of income is killing enemies. But also, if you have too much income, you don't get anything out of it because the food spoils. The best strategy I've found for this mission is you have to keep moving. If you try to turtle up around some water holes, you're just not going to make any progress and the enemy's going to get too fed.
Yeah, so the water heals still, which is nice. And you start with Uncle Butter, which is a very tanky unit, so you can just use him to kill the first amount of lizards and keep him healed in the water. I like to reach the next waterhole before nightfall, so that when the lizards attack, we can just turtle up in the water for the night and survive. And there's also another rule which makes this mission harder, which is if you lose your commander, you lose the mission. It's the first permadeath mission, so to speak, for your commander. And if you move around the map at night, separate from your army, enemies will focus your commander, and it's very easy to lose him.
Yeah, another thing is when the sun is out in this mission, you start losing food once it ticks over 200. So one way to save it is to throw down mines and essentially use them as a little bank. But it's also just as quick and probably more effective to try to find other units to recruit.
Yeah, I tried the saving up mines for food strategy. It didn't quite work out, to be honest. Because usually you have enough food to collect all the followers around. Even if it spoils, it doesn't spoil fast enough to make a difference in the late game. The biggest concern in the late game are enemy tier 3 units. I think they spawn owls and foxes at some point. We're looking to end the mission before that, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, you've gotten a pretty good map though. Some of these maps you can get for this mission are huge and windy and impossible to find your way around until it's a bit too late.
Yeah, this is a very open map so far. And we have a lot of water holes as well. The water actually cannot spawn on the high ground, so we're lucky that we have this huge low ground area that is kind of in the center of the map. But yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Sometimes the map is just a maze of mountain paths and, I don't know, twisted turns, and it takes forever to move around, it takes forever to explore. The fastest way to beat this mission is probably to explore it, to find out where all the mercenaries are, and just recruit them as quickly as possible.
Almost there, just 2 more.
Yeah, it's nice that they give you a counter of the remaining...
Yeah, if you didn't have a counter, this would be probably the worst mission in any game, not just this game.
Fortunately, we got a pretty lucky spawn. Alright, now it's time for my favorite mission of the game. In a second, the Badger mission. I like it because you can... It's supposed to be a macro mission, kinda like the last Hopper mission, but if you can just build units early, you can rush the whole thing. And just with good micro, basically, you can get an insane amount of value from it. So our objective is to destroy enemy food sources, which includes both grist mills and campfires. And the enemy will spawn with 2 grist mills and 2 campfires. The campfires are guarded by turrets, so we might not want to engage them in the early game. However, if we just rush out a snake, we can use the snake poison to get high amounts of value by just microing the snake, because it's a fairly tanky unit. I think it has, what, 35 health? And if we get some pigeons afterwards, we can heal the snake even faster afterwards. We don't have to wait for territory healing. And we have kind of 3 badger prisons in a row here that we can attack with the snakes and free the badgers, as I said earlier. So we can get even more value from that.
This is also one of the absolute strangest missions I've ever seen in terms of heroic objectives.
Yeah, that's true. I think the heroic here is to scout.
Yeah, the heroic is to scout out all of the grist mills and campfires. You have practically no time to do it.
The wind is annoying because not only do you get freezing outside outside your territory here, which makes advancing across the map very hard. You pretty much need territory, otherwise you'll die. But also you'll have the wind randomly slowing you down or speeding up enemies, which can make it a lot harder. For example, I have the perfect attack path here, but I don't have territory to move across, is what I just realized, so I'm not quite sure what to do. I guess I could try and capture this grist mill. And the amount of badger prisons you get is also random. You pretty much need a badger prison in order to get a fast and cost-effective badger, which you don't pay any money for the badgers. You're free from the prison. And at one point I had a map where there were literally 0 badger prisons spawned on the entire map. I think they fixed that a while ago though, so that shouldn't happen anymore. Hey, looks like we found the last grist mill as well. Actually, I'm still missing 1 enemy campfire, not sure where it is. But now that we have freed... Excuse me?
So you have the entire east side of the map.
Pretty much haven't scouted that yet. But with 3 badgers and like 9 pigeons... Oh dear. Oh, this is bad. I just lost my territory, so my units may actually freeze to death here. Unfortunately, they don't immediately die when the freezing starts. They'll gradually lose movement speed and attack speed. And once they are frozen, they will be unable to do anything, and they will take pretty damage pretty rapidly. I think like 10 damage per second or something crazy like that. But at least they don't die instantly, so Badger at least should stay alive in the cold.
Yeah, the issue is bringing your territory to you, because that's the only way to unthaw or to unfreeze them.
Yeah. Now I'm hoping to find the last food source, which should be a campfire, before the enemy decides to expand, which is usually at around 5 minutes. But because there were a few scrolls coming from that direction to the east, they kind of gave away that there was a scroll warren which needs territory to build, so I knew the enemy had territory there, which indicates that they have the last campfire there. Because while scouting is important in this game, you just can't always do it, because you have to move your commander, which means you can't do anything else in the meantime. So sometimes you just have to guess or make your conclusions with scouting the map.
Alright, Sage Marrow speaks. This is an interesting mission because how it goes really depends entirely on the RNG of your map seed. This is going to be a twisty, turny, windy maze of mountains and forests and whatever else. So basically the theme behind this mission is all the other 3 factions have figured out how to work together in a given place, and you just kill them all, because peace and harmony kind of ain't your bag, despite the fact that you're a priestly looking dude.
We're already starting with having kind of a bad map spawn, because the enemy seems to be able to harass my campfire.
High ground.
Shouldn't normally be the case. You have these 4 campfires in the top left corner of the map, kind of, as your base, and usually the enemy never goes there until it's night. We also have a day and night cycle here, so... But it seems that the enemy does in fact have some weird pathing, which makes them run through my base, so they'll start attacking my stuff.
Yeah, now the day-night cycle, at night you pretty much always have to fall back and defend, because that's when all the red units will come out and attack you.
Yeah, and red units include lizards and chameleons, I believe. So I'm trying to set up some defense here with balloons. And a nice feature about this game is also that you can sell your units and buildings, well, not your units, but your buildings at full price when they're at full health. So we're gonna attempt to do a major tech switch here and go into Mass Badger with pigeon support. I'm gonna sell the scrolls, no, not the scrolls, the lizards, because they're not cost effective enough of a unit in order to keep them alive. But since we are on very low economy, we only have 4 campfires. We might not be able to afford double badger here unless I get some meat pickups. However, the map is not kind to me. There's a lot of sniper balloons around. And owls, apparently.
And just general, like, not good mapist.
So even though it is day, and I could technically advance and attack, I'm gonna take the time to scout the map instead and get some meat pickups from the meat merchants. So we can afford the double badger and some more pigeons. And once we have like a pure badger, badger, snake, pigeon army, we're pretty much good to go and move across the map. And having one balloon at every campfire should be enough to defend. Unless sometimes you get unlucky and the enemy pathes like 2 chameleons into the same base, into the same campfire. And the chameleons just do too much damage before the one balloon can take them out. Because I think a balloon needs 6 seconds to kill a chameleon. Something like that. Just because they have a very strange amount of health. They will survive 2 balloon shots with 4 HP.
They are quite tanky to make up for the fact that they're melee. Even though their invisibility is kind of a help.
And I think the recent changes to Badger in the multiplayer have also affected her in the single player and hasn't quite been fixed yet. So she's winding up a little slower than she should be. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. It doesn't make a difference though once she's fully spun up. The way her minigun works is she shoots faster the longer she attacks. And the damage at maximum wind-up is still the same, so I'll still use that. We're just gonna try to work our way across the map here, from top left to bottom right. Fox is dangerous, we need to be wary of her. And we're gonna try to find the tile set on the minimap that has the enemy warrants, because when we take out the enemy warrants, they won't get reinforcements, and they will stop the attacks at night if we take out all the red warrants, for example. So killing all the warrants makes the mission a lot easier.
And it seems like we have found where at least the tier 3 is. Ah, yeah, here's all the warrants.
Yeah, there's like 9 warrants here, I think, in a square, and we have 2 of these warrant tiles on the map, so we need to find one more, ideally. They're always at the bottom right as well. In the bottom right kind of lane, if you will, or row, depending on how you look at the map. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do kind of split up into lanes and rows. And there's the other warren tile area.
So while Badger has good DPS, it's very hard to focus fire with her, because she will move. She's agile, so she shoots while moving. Which means if you focus fire a unit, she will pretty much try to stand directly on top of that unit, which isn't always a good thing. Anyway, now that we have cleared all of the warrants, we're pretty much a lot safer. And I can just clear up the rest of the map here. We have to kill all of the meat merchants as well, all of the long coats, all the KSR units, and all the common folk.
Just kill everything, basically.
Yeah.
Just the kill everything mission, and it can be very frustrating when something is just hidden behind a tree somewhere and you've combed over the map 6 times, but you can't find it still.
Yeah. It's usually a squirrel or an owl that's somewhere on the map. Because I think what the blue units, the longcoats units, do is they patrol between their bases. So they patrol between meat merchants, warrants even sometimes, or gristmills. I think the gristmills are also blue. And sometimes they will patrol in a way that they miss your army, so you don't kill them when you move across the map. And then you'll have... You kill all of the other rally points, so they only have one place to stay on, which is the last tile, and they'll never move across the map, and you just have to walk across the entire map to find them. Alright, it looks like we'll be able to find all of the enemies here in time and clear them. That was a pretty good Sage Marrow. It can usually get a lot worse than this. Okay, so upcoming the second last mission of the game, which is yet another survival mission, but it's the last time for real. This time. We are
This is
spawning-
another strange one. They auto spawn pigs, and you've got to protect the pigs.
Yeah, you have territory on the entire map, and your units built from warrens, kind of like the KSR missions. But the enemy will also spawn burrowing units or summoning units all over the map randomly. And it can get really tough to try and defend all of these.
One of the recommended tactics for this level is actually use barbed wire to corral in your own pigs so they don't go wandering off to their doom.
So the barbed wire does block pigs? I've never noticed, to be honest.
I'm fairly sure I read that somewhere. Or at the very least, you can kind of corral their area off so they can't be taken out.
Yeah, the pig wandering can definitely screw you when they just leave your defenses and go suiciding into the map. Because while they're farming, like regular farms, they don't shoot like farm pigs do. They don't defend themselves. Which can be good or bad, depending on the situation. Another thing I haven't realized for a very long time actually is that you can sell pigs as well. You can sell them for up to 60 food, depending on their health. So you can...
Interesting.
I mean, the goal is to protect all the pigs for 6 minutes, so you're kinda hurting yourself a little bit, but it can be worth the food sometimes to get an early economy lead or something.
The other thing is, though, about the way the objective works. As long as you've got a pig, you're still in the game. So, if you want to take the strategy of, you know what, I don't care about all these other pigs, let me just defend this corner right here, that is viable unless you're trying to get the heroic. The heroic on this one's very tough, and I would dare say very, very RNG dependent. I can't speak no more.
And there's a different strat for getting the heroic on this one, which involves building scrolls around the entire map and never moving them. So you only move units separately, you never press the rally all button. And the scrolls then kind of function like turrets, which is nice. However, it doesn't work for the it doesn't work all the time, so I think the more consistent strat for just beating the mission is actually to turtle up in a corner. However, I have no good corner turtles here, so I wish I could get some high ground, maybe that one on the right. But it's entirely random where the pigs spawn, so you can't always control that. Also, you can try to use the wolf to buff up your pigs so they farm at double speed. So even on a low amount of pigs, you can still get a decent income. And from there you can just build a falcon ball. I like to add an owl early as well to have this basic free meat in front, the mice as a front line. Because they don't cost anything, right? And you can trade them in to soak up damage.
Alright, only about 2 minutes remaining in this particular mission.
This is actually really scary because I think we're down to one pig in this corner that I'm defending. And if one of the other pigs gets attacked, I'm not sure if I'll be there in time to defend them, so...
Yeah, fortunately, pigs do kind of spawn throughout this mission, so if you screw up early on, there's a way to come back, but it's still not an easy mission. RNG can get you.
And it's the same with grist mills. A building pig does not keep you in the game in this mission. It only counts when they're finished. think we're fine in this mission, but I don't want to speak too soon because sometimes they go into late game with a fox that'll just snipe all your falcons. And we have an owl with a mice frontline in order to defend against that, fortunately, but yeah, the turtle strat I was mentioning earlier, I think that also exists for owls, and where you build owls at certain areas of the map, and the mice, because of their huge aggro range, they can cover and secure a huge area. Looks like there's a little pig colony that is formed at the bottom left corner of the map again. So maybe if we lose these pigs, the other ones will still survive.
Fortunately, we've only got like 10 seconds left.
Well, that means we're going to move on to the next mission soon. Now I must ask, has the what's the result of the poll for the last commander standing?
I don't think anybody's donated, unfortunately. I think people are very obsessed with Mario.
I mean, Mario's a fair game, but what's the last mission? The last mission is another free-for-all. All of the enemy commanders have 2 bases, I think. And it's a bit of a twist in this one. You'll probably see why soon. First off, there's a bunch of powerful tier 3 units on the map that you can capture by buying a campfire for 60 food, which is a huge bargain. So you can get very powerful units very early on. So this mission shouldn't be a problem, right?
Right. Alright, we're actually gonna go with Quartermaster. Quartermaster's the answer.
Oops. Alright then.
Right as you start shooting her.
We can still win with Quartermaster.
We like a challenge.
I may have to alter my strategy slightly, but I can still do it. Hang on, actually, let's try this one. We may just go up into turtling mode now that Quartermaster's on 1 base, actually. Because she has the most powerful defense of all the factions, which is the artillery cannon. So yeah, anyway, once you destroy the first enemy gristmill, what the game will do is it'll give you control over the faction that has the lowest amount of gristmills or something like that. Basically, the faction that just lost the gristmill will be your faction then. So you're pretty much forced to always fight this war from the losing side of things. And the mission objective is to end the war. But it doesn't specifically say in what way, so technically we can end the war in any way we want to. Also, so there's a way you can manipulate what the enemy AI is doing by switching to them momentarily. And building tech buildings for them, for example. I added a very early chameleon for Archimedes, so Archimedes will always have chameleons now because the AI doesn't sell buildings, as far as I know.
Alright, we have a $20 donation from Detroff saying, "Hey cabron, you better get world record with new Bonk Festival and Sombrero, UDEP. Also, fuck the frames and save your balls." So eloquent. So, I think people are very, very excited for the Odyssey run. But as we all know, Quartermaster is in fact best girl, and we'll be closing out this long, tragic campaign.
So yeah, as I mentioned before in the other free-for-all, sometimes, even though it's an FFA technically, everyone should fight everyone, but The AI still likes to focus fire on you, which is what just happened. We lost our wolf in that attack. Fortunately we got an owl to reinforce, but I'm not sure how much longer we can hold on. A good thing is that the AI also does not capture, what are they called? Campfires.
Campfires.
Sorry?
Campfires.
Yeah. Sorry. The AI usually doesn't capture campfires to get powerful tier 3 units. So that's something you can do pretty much exclusively. Alright, the problem here is that Quartermaster moves around the map with her army, which may actually be a mistake on her part, so I'm not sure if I can keep her alive after all of this. It can happen very randomly that the AI captures a campfire. I think I've had that happen to me once or twice. And that was only because the AI tried to build a war in their territory and there was a campfire in the way. And the build capture campfire is the same button as build a warren, so the AI got confused and accidentally captured the warren. The campfire. Anyway, I'm not sure what's going on the map. There's a lot of switching back and forth commanders here.
So what are the mechanics behind the switch? It's every time you take out someone, or every time someone is taken out, as far as losing a gristmill?
I think it's every time a gristmill or campfire is lost, you get switched to that person, that faction. Unless it's the last gristmill or campfire, then it doesn't switch because the faction is eliminated from the game. It looks like Quartermaster is expanding. And the mass chameleons I built here I can use to snipe a gristmill, which will bring the game closer to an end. It will bring the war closer to an end. And while it will make me switch factions again, it's usually the way to go to end this mission the fastest. It's actually taking a lot longer than usual because I screwed up in the early game with Quartermaster. But yeah, one thing I haven't realized is that we haven't failed the heroic objective yet, which is one of the hardest heroics to get in the game. So I guess it would be funny if we can keep that for the rest of the run.
Yeah, it is kind of a crazy objective in a mission that's centered around taking out gristmills and campfires, never losing one yourself.
In fact, I'm gonna try and delay the destruction of, what's it called, Blue's gristmill here, Bellified.
Yep.
So that maybe when we get switched to him, or before we get switched ideally, he will lose both mills. Unfortunately that fails the heroic objective for me, but I think Quartermaster is now the last one standing? No. I think Archimedes is still in the game. Hopper is starving. It's getting a little interesting. It looks like Archimedes lost some warrants, not sure how that happened.
He builds them in such obvious places. Now I gotta say, as a final mission of the game, this is a really clever mission and I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely quite an epic battle that you have going on between all the factions here.
And because you get switched to someone who's recently lost something, you never really feel like you're winning, which is the point, honestly.
Yeah. When I played this mission the first time, I got a little bit suspicious when it said end the war. I was like, well, am I not supposed to win this? But the mission objective is not to win the war, it is to end the war, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm gonna destroy a campfire here of Quartermaster, hopefully, to switch back to her army, so she can eliminate the last gristmill that is standing in the way of ending the game. And hopefully that she'll complete the poll results.
Yeah, and congratulations, Quartermaster wins. Everybody can be happy and go home, and nothing bad will ever happen again, right?
Sure, why not? I mean, everyone
We'll
else
go
is
with that.
dead. The KSR has won the war, so
The Tsarina has been avenged, and oh, what are these building?
I don't know, maybe a mole?
I thought we killed everybody though, dude. I think this game is bugged. Oh,
No.
yeah, we definitely just took Archimedes out. What is he doing still building? This game is bugged.
There's blue ones, red ones, yellow
Oh
ones.
my god, the pigs are attacking in all sorts of bright primary colors.
Where are
Time
they
to kill
coming
them.
from?
Yeah. No, I just got bleeped out stars, dude, so I assume it was fuck. Will this marathon show up on YouTube? Yes, I will post the runs to YouTube.
You know what? I completely forgot we're doing a speedrun, so...
No speed necessary.
It's a bunch of pigs attacking. The war is not over yet, it seems, and since we can't beat them, we've tried. The fastest way to win, or to end the war rather, is to just surrender.
So, obviously we skipped pretty much all the dialogue in this game, so you're not really sure what's going on. But basically, the pigs have been playing everyone from the very get-go. They played Bellified, they played Hopper, they played Quartermaster, and they definitely played Archimedes. And so now we get the credit roll. Shoutouts to everyone on the Pocket Watch Games team. They put a lot of effort into this game, and it really shows. And even today, with the balance of the multiplayer, they're putting blood, sweat, and tears into it. Although if you're bleeding while using a keyboard, you should probably type less hard. Power up audio as well. Kevin is actually a speedrunner. He appeared at the this past SGDQ.
Could you stop the timer, by the way? That would be nice.
Shit.
Usually
Oops.
timer stops at credits, I think is what you said.
Yeah, credits, so. Yeah, whoops. We added on a couple extra seconds, might be.
Sorry, I also forgot about it. Also, wasn't sure when the delay was going to hit.
Yeah, we were also just having great discussions about all the wonderful people who put in effort into making this game a reality. Also, shout outs to the people who've been working tirelessly on the localizations for it. I've seen the process of localizing it for Russian, and it's really, really not easy. Like, every single line of the game has to translate, and some of those things just don't have a good translation. And also, rest in peace to our buddy Dead Bones, the first and greatest player of all time. Like, even when this game was in alpha, Dead Bones had, where other people might have 25 hours spent in game, he had several thousand. This dude played more TNT than anyone else. And he played it right. He played it really, really well. He was the winner of some of the first tournaments I ever ran as a tournament organizer.
Another thing, has the donation incentive has been met for the wrong warp?
I don't think it has. However, we do have an extra 30 minutes, so if you want to show it anyway, go right ahead. We might as well.
Yeah, sure, why not? So when you're playing this game, you're done with the campaign. You probably have a lot of to think about, so you don't start in your game right away. But if you're speedrunning the game, then you'll probably you might want to consider after finishing the game starting a new one. And there's actually a way to make this this whole campaign a lot shorter, which I'm going to show you. Don't worry, it should only take like 2 minutes. So after beating the campaign, or the last mission with the credits, that's kind of mandatory to set it up. You just start a new game and play through the tutorial mission. And after the tutorial, there's an interesting glitch that you will be noticing. That's how I found it anyway. I guess I could do some speedrun commentary for the tutorial then.
Yeah, this isn't like a... This isn't one of those, we worked and worked and worked in order to find a glitch to help us speedrun. This is just something you, like, run into completely unintentionally. It was almost impossible not to run into it if you're playing like a normal speedrunner, kind of like just starting a new game and mashing through some text.
I think I haven't actually tested if this glitch still works in the current version of the game, but if they had fixed it, it probably would have been in the patch notes, so I assume it's not the case. Anyway, there's actually...
Huh? Are they even aware of the glitch? I mean, I'm sure they've seen something of it.
I guess it's just low priority. They're more focused on the multiplayer and stuff, so...
Yeah, the multiplayer is important, because it's such a good game, such a good scene, such good peoples.
And it's not a glitch that'll ruin your single-player experience or something. It's just something you happen to run into by accident when you completed the mission already. So after you complete the tutorial, you will be spawning in Bellefied's hub world. And since the last mission you completed before the tutorial was the last mission of the game will think that you have returned to Warrants from that mission, and it'll, just to speed things up, it'll immediately give you the last mission dialogue. So you could start the final mission of the game right after the tutorial mission. And that saves a lot of time in any percent speedrunning. But it does require a New Game Plus setup with the credit screen rolling, so I figured I didn't just want to show off this game in like 10 minutes or whatever. I figured it would be better to do it all.
Alright, so for this version of the final level, just show us how fast you can possibly do it. I probably should have started another timer, but it's a bit late for that. Who cares?
I can try.
This is still pretty RNG heavy, honestly.
Yeah, the map is sometimes a little obstructed. It doesn't allow paths to go. For example, Quartermaster here has excellent barbed wire spawn, which is usually not the case. I'm not even sure if I can get through here. Hang on. But yeah, the fastest mission I like to do to beat this mission is just rush down the nearest gristmill as soon as you can. Because the less gristmills, the closer you are to ending the war. So I like to rush a better.
Mathematically makes sense.
Yeah, better is awesome in speedrunning in general.
It's just a good unit.
Yeah. And the only problem about this is that I haven't found any other faction in time, so I had to rush Quartermaster, which has the weakest rushing potential out of all the factions. So usually I would just rush another gristmill, but Quartermaster doesn't have any units, doesn't have any fast units, so I think we might end up getting rushed ourselves in the meantime. And when you're on the losing end of the battle, that's not bad, because even if you lose a gristmill, that's still one step closer to the end of the mission, but at that point you're depending on the AI again to do the work for you, which they don't always do.
No, sometimes they're just like, nah, let me expand.
Pretty much. So even though you don't have allied AI in this game, the enemy AI can still be derpy in terms of strategic decision making. Also, another annoying thing is that while we didn't have control of Archimedes, he decided to expand. He likes to do that apparently.
I mean, I'm sure you remember the Quartermaster mission. That's like his favorite thing.
Yeah.
He just wakes up. Oh boy, it's expand o'clock.
And that's a bad thing in general, because every additional gristmill that the AI buys is it delays the end of the game, because you have to kill an additional gristmill usually. Anyway, Archimedes has decent gristmill rushing potential because he has both snakes and chameleons in his deck. And the snakes still have structure tagging in single player, so they can just put like 10 stacks on the gristmill or something. Usually that's enough to kill it. Well, we've been wondering actually how exactly poison manages to kill buildings, and we just figured it must be corrosive poison or something like that.
Yeah, some kind of acid.
Yeah. But it's removed in the multiplayer now, so I guess it just was never meant to be to begin with. So
Right,
Archimedes doesn't really have an army left, so if I can kill Belophyte's last base, that should put us into a pretty good position. Oh no, actually Archimedes has 2 bases left, so we're gonna switch back to him probably before the end anyway. Unless we manage to kill his campfire and his gristmill at sort of the same time, which is what I'm trying to do here.
That one's super low.
Oh, that was almost spot on actually. And once we kill all the other factions, again we rely on enemy RNG because the pigs spawn randomly, and they try to kill our stuff. So the fastest way to allow that to happen is to just sell off all of our army units, sell all of our defenses ideally, and hide behind our gristmill, so that the pigs will focus the gristmill first, ideally. And they're actually stronger than our farm pigs for some reason. I think they have the same amount of health, but they have double the damage, so they will also outclass our farm pigs that are still defending for some reason. So apparently not all of the pigs were involved in the revolution.
Shoutouts to Brepos, who's pog champing in chat right now. Brepos is another reputable tooth and tail player. Probably top 5, I would say. He's pretty damn good. And when I say top 5, I mean actual top 5, not like the Andy Shots top 5, which consists of like 8 to 10 people. I don't know if you've ever heard him on stream talking about who he considers to be the top players, but like there's about 10 to 15 people who he considers to be top 5.
That's interesting. Anyway.
Just like, for one, he wants to be nice to everybody, but two, there's a lot of people who are very good at this game. Yeah, Repos was really that. Yeah, now that the game is out, though, the landscape has been changing a little bit. People who weren't in on the alpha have started getting pretty good. Some of the guys like Bright Yellow, Pile of Poop's actually been doing very well, despite his silly name. Anyways, huge shout outs to everyone involved with Tooth and Tail in the community. I love you guys so much. You are the ones who make my stream kind of what it is. I'm sorry I don't stream enough tournaments. I'll get to work on it. But right now, I'm just trying to raise some money for the Testicular Cancer Society. If you would like to help save the balls, please donate some dollars, because the balls need the dollars. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for Tooth and Tail. Thank you so much, Blitzreiter, for the speed run.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Alright, up next we're going to have, I believe, but let me double check just to be sure. I am pretty sure it's Zelda time. It is time for Breath of the Wild 80% by Lulu Core. If you've not seen this run, get ready. This game is profoundly busted, and it is glorious. Till then, we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you guys shortly. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back.